What up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Matt Wyatt. So I'm getting into the next 4K Blu-ray haul for this month of January that I have bought so far, and some of my collection I have got was so damn good and was worth every penny. And I got this on Amazon. So the first up, I got the first James Cameron's the Terminator that came out in 1984. And for those of you who have been following me for a long time, you already know that I'm a big fan of the first two Terminator movies. I was very skeptical of getting the 4K remaster for the first Terminator movie because most of his 4K remaster that James Cameron did were a hit and miss, especially T2 Judgment Day, which is my favorite movie of all time, and I was disappointed how the transfer looked, and thank God that I avoided buying that version of that copy. I only own the 1080p Blu-ray version, but I was very scared that this transfer is going to be another miss, but apparently it did not. It 100% delivered, and it's because it's distributed by MGM Studios and Warner Brothers Entertainment. That's why because they have a track record of putting out a lot of 4K remastered, and I thought they did a brilliant job of the contrast, the brightness, and it's definitely has a film grain because so it can look like it was shot in 1984, even though it was filmed back in 1984, and it looks like it still holds up, and it still looks like it was shot on film, and it was beautiful to look at. The color grading was great. It was so sharp and detailed. It did not disappoint. And if you are a fan of the first Terminator movie and you don't own the Blu-ray, this is the one that you should get. Even if you do have the 1080p Blu-ray, this is a major upgrade. It is a definitive quality. You will not be disappointed. And it was not too cleaned up. It's not too like digitized. It's not too it's not too glossy. It still looked natural with skin tone with the movie, and it's great. And you got the special features on here. You got you got the creating the Terminator visual effects and music, the Terminator closer to the real thing, Unstoppable Force, the legacy of Terminator, and you got 7 deleted scenes. The one thing that's missing on the 4K bonus feature disc is Terminator retrospective when you see Arnold and James Cameron sitting down on the chair and having a conversation about looking back on making the first Terminator film. I was disappointed that they didn't not add this into the bonus features, but thank God I still have the 1080p bonus feature for the previous version that I own. Yeah, this is definitely worth buying. I recommend it. You will not be disappointed. I know that some of his 4K remaster have been a hit and miss, especially with True Lies, which I don't hate True Lies with the 4K remaster. It's not as bad as the more I watch it. It started to slowly grow on me. But yeah, this is definitely 100% the definitive 4K remaster for James Cameron's movie, The Terminator. It's incredible. Now, next up, I got Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street that came out in 1984. I've been waiting to get this physical copy for a long time because I don't own the 1080p Blu-ray. I wanted to wait for this thing to come out for the remaster for the 40th anniversary. I knew they were going to do it at some point. It was just a matter of when. Wes Craven did a masterful job of doing something unique and original about a killer with razor sharp fingers who haunts people in their nightmares. And I thought it was great. Robert Englund was the biggest stepping stone in his acting career when he betrayed Freddy Krueger and he became one of the biggest popular slasher horror characters of all time. And I went to go see this in the cinema with an audience back in the Alamo Draft House. We were having a fan event. They started showing a lot of commercials before they started to show the movie of other Nightmare on Elm Street movies when they were doing that whole promo, and I thought it was great. I felt like I was going into an event, and seeing that in the theater was absolutely brilliant. The 4K transfer was great. It was 100% amazing. Well, there was one scene in the movie that felt a little bit off, but that's about it. I think it was just mostly in the uncut version, which there is a theatrical cut in the uncut version. The only thing they add into the movie is that they added a little bit more of bloody and graphic scene when the first victim dies in the first 20 minutes of the movie in the bedroom scene, and that's pretty much about it. But mostly it's just the same, and you're not really missing anything. And there are bonus features on the 4K disc. On the back side of it, it has Ready Freddy focus points, which seeing alternate tanks and learning about the filmmaker's secrets behind the nightmare by jumping to video highlights while watching the movie. Then they have two different versions of the audio commentary that came out, like I believe it was like in the 90s, and then there's a one back in the early 2000s. So there's two different versions of the audio commentary, and there's three alternate endings of the movie. I thought, and there's still a lot more bonus features like the house that Freddy built and the making of the Nightmare on Elm Street and Night Terrors, the origins of Wes Craven's nightmares. Yeah, this is a definitive quality. It's incredible. It still holds up to this day. It still looked like it was shot in 1984. I recommend getting this on 4K Blu-ray. And I've seen the comparison between the 1080p Blu-ray and the 4K. And yeah, this is definitely a superior quality. I highly recommend it. It's worth every penny. Now, next up, I got the Christopher Nolan's Interstellar that came out in 2014. The movie that came out like 10 years ago, and I can't believe how time has flown by. I was a little bit worried that this movie was not going to look back and get talked about ever again, but this movie is still talked about. They re-released it on an IMAX format, and I did not have a chance to see this movie in on an IMAX screen. I've only seen this movie once when it came out in the cinema. I was at the AMC theater and saw this in IMAX format, but I never watched it on a true IMAX screen, and I wish I did. I wish I had that experience, but I didn't get the chance to. Maybe one day they'll re-release it again, and hopefully I can get that another chance of it. But yeah, this movie is incredible. Yeah, you're following this farmer played by Matthew McConaughey, who is a pilot and an engineer, and his task is to find a new home because the Earth is about to die. They're losing their food sources from their crops from the Dust Bowl, and people are losing a lot of the population, and it's starting to decrease. It really stayed a little close to the authenticity of the scientific physics a little bit. There are some that goes a little bit far off with the physics, but I'm not going to get into that because I'm not an expert on laws of physics. I thought this movie is incredible. Performances by Matthew McConaughey, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine, Anne Hathaway, and so on. And the visual effects, it still holds up, especially watching in an IMAX format when you see them traveling through a wormhole when they're going to another solar system, which is an epic shot of the whole movie, in my opinion. It's incredible, especially with the 4K remaster with the film grain, the HDR, the contrast and the brightness. It was beautiful. It's a major upgrade. The only way you get to experience some of the IMAX sequences is to watch it on the physical copy. You're not going to be able to watch it through either streaming or watch it on your digital VOD. This is the only way to view this movie, in my opinion. This is worth a purchase. If you're new to buying 4K Blu-ray movies, this is another must buy, and this is one of Christopher Nolan's best work. Now, next up, I got Galaxy Quest that was starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and Alan Rickman. It's literally a Star Trek spoof, and they're showing you like what if these actors who starred in a canceled television show from a big cult hit gets kidnapped a bunch of aliens who believe that there are real life characters that help them go off and save their own people to fight off this big massive villain named Cirrus, who is the main antagonist of the movie. It was crazy that the concept to use something like this, and it's a love letter to the fandom. And the studio originally wanted to get these the original Star Trek actors to do a movie like this, but they didn't do it. And that would have been a crazy concept if they have done something like that for real. That would be amazing. And the real hero of the story is really the fans in general. If you really think about it, if it weren't for the fans, these actors would not have made it out of there alive. It's an incredible film. It's a masterpiece. It's one of my all-time favorites. I didn't get a chance to see this movie in the cinema. I only had a chance to watch it when it came on cable, and I watched it many, many times as a little kid. I still watch it like once or twice a year. Alan Rickman is incredible in the film. R.I.P. to Alan Rickman. They originally wanted to revive it and do a show on Amazon Prime, but ever since he passed away, they completely scrapped the plan and they couldn't move forward without Alan Rickman. It would have been cool to see a revival Galaxy Quest. And Tim Allen was incredible, and Sigourney Weaver, Sam Rockwell, who wasn't a star at the time, who is an Academy Award-winning actor. He steals the entire spotlight. He's basically the comic relief, and he is so like self-aware of everything he does every time he says something that are so self-aware and so obvious. It's so fucking hilarious. If you haven't seen this, you definitely should. And yeah, the 4K remaster, it's another banger remastered, but the biggest difference in this 4K remastered, if you watch the first 20 minutes of the movie, you see at the beginning that they changed the aspect ratio for the 4:3 in the beginning, and you see the black bars on the side, and you're wondering what the hell is going on. This is not supposed to look like that. And then when they cut to the present day time at the convention, they slowly expand a little bit on that projector screen, a little bit. Then after that, after when Tim Allen was about to leave the ship, and you see the doorway open, and the aspect ratio goes a little bit wider on the wide screen as the door expands, and you see perspective as he's in space. That sequences was beautiful, and that's how it happened when that movie came out in the cinema. I wouldn't know because I didn't experience it, but I had to look into it because I was always wondering, why are you making the aspect ratio look like that? I was like, is there something wrong with my TV? No, that was definitely intentional. And after they showed you the widescreen by the 2:9, they stay with it for the rest of the movie. And I thought that was a great visual choice, even though I don't completely agree with those choices, but it started to grow on me the more I watch it. I highly recommend getting this movie, and especially on 4K. It's incredible. It's funny. It has a lot of heart. It has a lot of intensity. It hits a lot of dramatic moments when it really needs to be. Now, next up, I got the Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy. I finally got this on 4K. I think that what Christopher Nolan did with the trilogy was definitely groundbreaking. I think that Batman Begins is a very underrated Batman film that not a lot of people talk about. And it was a big risk to revive this whole franchise and making this more dark and more gritty and more realistic that it would if this Batman character existed in our world today. A lot of people are going to look back and talk about the Dark Knight, and then they'll talk about the Dark Knight Rises. Personally, I think the Dark Knight Rises is my least favorite of the three. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but the only way you can watch this is on a 4K Blu-ray for the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises because they show you a lot of the IMAX sequences that were shot on the 70 millimeter, and it looked great. The 4K transfer is beautiful. I love how it was shot, it looked like it was shot on film. I love how detailed it was. The color grading was incredible. It's a major upgrade. I've seen the 1080p version. This one is an upgrade. It is a must buy if you love the Dark Knight trilogy. And as you see here, this is the slipcover, and it comes out with a separate 4K Blu-ray case with the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, I like that choice. I don't like the fact that it's all in one cover and then select disc and it can have potential of ruining it. So I'm glad that they used it as a separate like 4K Blu-ray covers. They did this. Warner Brothers did the same thing with the Matrix trilogy, which I thought was a smart choice in my opinion. And yeah, it does come with a bunch of special features as usual. Yeah, but this is a big win. So that's my collection for the 4K Blu-ray movies. What have you collected so far? If you're a physical media collector, what have you collected recently? I would love to know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and help me reach 500 subscribers. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the like. It definitely helps the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from. And I hope you guys stay safe and stay tuned for more of my content.